future boy.
This is my review for the latest X-Men movie, X-Men Days of Future Past, from this year. Pretty early this year it came out. And I like the X-Men movies. I really liked the X-Men First Class. It was something different, something new. It took them into the 50s, 60s. It gave it a whole period piece vibe. It was really cool. I like that. I like the director of the last one. So this one kind of took the First Class aspect of the 60s and some of the characters from the 2000s that we recognize and combined them. And this is directed again by Bryan Singer, who did the first two original X-Men, so X-Men X2. So I had pretty high hopes for it. Actually, I was thinking about seeing it in theaters and everything, just never really got around to it, and I've had the opportunity to watch it for a while, and I don't know, I'm so burnt out on some of the superhero stuff, I just kept putting it off, but finally gave it a watch, and ended up liking it quite a bit. So I'll go through the plot here. So like I said, this combines two different aspects of the X-Men universe. So we start out in the future. Man, I don't know if it said how far in the future, but say about 20 years or so. 20 years or so in the future from now. And we see a bunch of mutants. They're in they're in a camp, so they're in a mutant camp. They're all rounded up, put into like a work camp or something like that. And they're all running for their lives, and they're being chased by Sentinels. And if you know anything from the X-Men universe or the comics, they are these big robots that hunt mutants and kill them. So right away they're running from them. And the people we see in the future are familiar people. We see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. We have Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Halle Berry as Storm. Ian McKellen, Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto. Ellen Page is back as Kitty Pryde. Shawn Ashmore is there as Iceman. One new guy is Omar Sy. He's a pretty famous French actor. He's playing Bishop, who's one of the coolest mutants in the universe, and unfortunately he doesn't get to do too much in this movie, which I was disappointed by, because he is one of the cooler characters. Everybody likes him that likes X-Men usually. So those are our main future X-Men. They're on the run. They're in some weird random place. Right away we get a time travel skip by Kitty Pryde, but it only goes back like a day or so. And then we get explained that they're on the run. She's been transporting them back a couple days so they don't run into the same fate. So like we see them getting chased, and she goes back, and they are able to avoid that. And what they want to do is go all the way back to when the Sentinels became a problem. And to do that, they have to go back to when they were created by a guy named Bolivar Trask, who was played by Peter Dinklage. Played very well. He's a good actor. I like Peter Dinklage. Probably know him from Game of Thrones. So that's their plan. It's kind of... Okay, I'll just kind of go as long with the plot. First of all, I didn't like the Sentinels in the future. They look cartoony. The graphics just make them look too rubbery and stuff like that. And then, so they get into this whole idea that they're going to send... Kitty Pryde is going to send Wolverine back into the 60s and meet up with the X-Men from, pretty much right after the last movie. But the whole explanation of why they're doing it is really weak. They have this dumb line. He says, well, I can heal my mind as quickly as it's ripped apart, because apparently to send somebody back that far in time, they just would get obliterated. But because Wolverine has regenerative powers, he's like, well, I can regenerate. I was like, really? Okay. I don't know how that works, but whatever. I'm going with it, right? And then I guess I'll get into... Well, I have another problem with the whole mind. They send him back to the past, and she has to sit there and hold her hands against his head the whole time. So just it's a weird take on time travel, I guess, which I didn't really understand. They don't explain it. Okay, why does she have to sit there the whole time with her hands on his head? I don't know. I didn't think it was necessary. I mean, there's a lot of other time travel movies, and they don't have that same thing going on, but But whatever, I'll let it go. I'm just like, I think they're plot holes, but anyways, so that was right at the beginning. Now we go back to the past, to the part where the part that I like, the settings that I really like, the characters are good, and because it's kind of interesting to see like, X-Men as a period piece. So when he goes back, Wolverine's mission is to get younger Professor X and younger Magneto to combine forces and stop Boulevard Trask. So when we go back, we see all these other good actors from the last movie. You know, James McAvoy is Professor X again. Michael Fassbender is Magneto. Jennifer Lawrence is back as Mystique. Nicholas Hoult is Beast. And a couple new characters I'll get to in a sec. So the big problem is that Magneto is in prison for doing, not from the last movie, but from, they have a whole JFK assassination plot, and he's in prison under the Pentagon. For that assassination attempt, they have to get him. Professor X is just really not having anything after the whole ordeal with the Cuban Missile Crisis in the last movie. He got shot. He can walk now because he's been taking some drugs that Beast, Hank McCoy, cocked it up for him that allows him to walk, but it takes away his telekinetic powers. So he's just kind of, it's kind of a weird, drug addict aspect to it, which I wasn't expecting. So he's like addicted to this drug just because he wants to walk, and he doesn't care, I guess, that he doesn't have his powers. So that was interesting. So they have to try to get them to team up and stop Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. She's going around just keeping the fight going, killing humans that are, wronging all the mutants. And she's the one that's eventually going to be responsible for killing Boulevard Trask, and their whole mission is to stop it. So that's the plot. They recruit some, at least one character, one mutant, maybe a couple others, can't remember. But he is probably the coolest character in the whole movie, and he's only in it for a little bit. He's Quicksilver. I don't think they actually even use his name. But he's played by Evan Peters, who you might know him most from American Horror Story. And he's also in the first Kick-Ass movie. So they recruit him to help break Magneto out of the prison. And his character's really cool. He looks like Jack White, which is kind of funny. But his scenes are awesome. They get into this prison break scene, and if you don't know, Quicksilver's power is that he's extremely fast. And so they have this whole scene where he's running around, but he's so fast, everything else is like super slow motion, and he's manipulating everything. Really awesome. Probably easily the best scene of the whole movie. And I'd heard about it before I saw the movie, and I was like, okay, yeah, it lived up to its expectations. It's really cool. I won't say, I guess I won't get much else into the plot, because it just goes on into them trying to save, not save, but prevent Boulevard Trask's murder so that the future that they're in doesn't happen. So yeah, a couple questions, a couple things that I didn't like. They never address, there's this whole issue of why Professor X is alive in the future part. So, spoiler alert, from X-Men 3, Professor X dies. He gets exploded by Jean Grey's Phoenix, and he's alive. They just search right away as Patrick Stewart as old Professor X. He's alive, never addressed. They never say why. And I was like, okay, do you just expect everybody to forget that, or it's just weird? I didn't like that. That was weird. And then there's also like this, I don't know, they really like to mess with the timelines. So after the last movie, going into the past, and then this one with the time travel, it kind of works. I mean, there's not a lot of huge plot holes except for a couple that I've kind of mentioned, but I don't know. This seems like they're just kind of like messing with the timeline a lot. So it'll be interesting how they go forward. I do like, the other thing I don't like, I've never liked this aspect of the Mystique character. So ever since Rebecca Romijn played her in the first one, she has never looked like Mystique. The character Mystique has never looked like she does in the movies and the comics. So she's always usually just like a flat blue color and wears like a white dress and has red hair that's just free flowing or whatever. In the movies, she is more. They give her like a more reptilian lizard look, so she's blue head to toe, naked, and has scales. And then she has like the slick back hair, which I think looks awful. Ever since I started watching the first one, I think it's just a bad look. And I mean, I guess I get the slick back hair if they're making her more reptilian, but why do they make her reptilian? Just so she can be completely naked? Like, oh, we need the scales to cover up certain aspects, right? It's like, well, if you just go with her original character look, you wouldn't have to do that. And I've seen people like dressed up as Mystique from the comics as like cosplay and stuff, and it looks really cool when she has normal hair. I don't know. I've never liked the look in the movies, and I still don't like it here, and it's really distracting because you have Jennifer Lawrence, and before you have Rebecca Romijn. You have these two really beautiful women just pretty much naked wearing body paint. It's like, okay, just give her normal character clothes, and that's not distracting because they have these women running around naked in body paint. I don't know. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Other than that, I think the things that I like the X-Men movies because it's a departure from. Okay, X-Men is a Marvel comic, but the Marvel universe, as in like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, that's its own separate thing. They're owned by different studios. So those movies, like with the Iron Mans and Captain Americas, they are getting very, very redundant, and they follow all the exact same plot points through each movie. You know what's going to happen at the end. There's going to be just some giant fight that ends in ultimate collateral damage. And I like the fact that the X-Men movies don't do that. I feel like they're a lot more about character development or relationships, and I like that a lot because it's a break from just the huge amount of destruction that happens in those other comic book movies. So it's nice to go back to that every once in a while. I really like Magneto and Mystique. I like both those characters as main characters. They have very interesting backgrounds and stories, and so I like that they focus on them a lot. And obviously with Jennifer Lawrence and Michael Fassbender playing them, it's hard to go wrong. So they're really good in this again, just like always. I do feel like at this point it's starting to feel like a bit of a retread, though. You know, they have this. The whole issue is with mutants against humans and being misunderstood. Obviously, there's like a lot of civil rights allegories and stuff like that. And I mean, that's what the X-Men stories are kind of based on. And you just see it again with the future. It just reiterates again. So, you know, the first one started with the Holocaust, and then now it's in the future. They're in work camps again. And it's a good change up from, like I was talking about earlier, the other Marvel Universe characters. But it's kind of like you're doing the same thing over and over, so this also feels like a bit of a retread of the same story. But we'll see where they go from this. They have a teaser for the next big character. The big villain is going to be Apocalypse, and the next movie is going to be X-Men. I think Age of Apocalypse is what it's called. And I think there's rumors of who's going to play him. I think they've been rumoring that Oscar Isaac is going to play him, which is interesting because he's a good actor. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next installment. So I like this one. I give it a 3.75 out of 5. Like I said, it's probably worth it just to see the Quicksilver scene. It's awesome, and just see really good actors playing these superhero characters is just interesting. So yeah, I'd check it out. So that'll be it. Okay.